Welcome to Fatherhood for the Rest of Us with Brandon Handley. Because you're already great at everything else, why not fatherhood too?
Hey there, Fatherhood for the Rest of Us. This is Brandon Handley. I'm on with Andrew Stegall. Man, I want to say thank you for being on today with me. And you and I were just talking a little bit. We found each other through Instagram. And you are a father of three, and you produce and write your own music, which is all on streaming networks. And you're currently preparing for school while trying to balance out everything else you have going on. It sounds like you got a lot going on. So yeah,
a lot
going on, And before we jump deep into it, I do want to know, like, what can we help you celebrate today, Andrew?
Being able to wake up. I mean, that's always a plus. You're able to wake up and see another day.
Absolutely. What'd you wake up to today?
I woke up to my kids, woke up to my wife, woke up to chores, the norm.
Man.
Definitely had some time to create a track this morning.
Okay.
While I was waiting to connect with you, and then also just chill out for a second, have breakfast, drink your coffee, and get your day started.
Yeah. Awesome. I usually don't even do these on Sundays, so I'm excited to be doing this with you, man. Taking this little Sunday time out. You're saying that you're doing your music, and you categorize yourself obviously as like an artist, but you're going to school. What are you going to school for?
I'm going to school for IT work.
IT work?
Networking mostly.
Okay.
But I'm definitely getting into a lot of the different sectors of it. Cybersecurity, security plus, things like that.
Okay. And how are you finding like the balance of that, right? Like how much time do you spend writing your own music? What kind of music are you writing? How long have you been doing all that?
Well, when it comes to the music, as far as being able to sit down and write, it usually happens at night when everybody's asleep, or in the morning when everybody's asleep. I try to keep that separated only because it's their time. When it's their time, it's their time. When it's music time, it's music time.
Right.
And I found that works for me. I don't know how everybody else does it, but for me, that typically works. So if that time or that window is closed, then it's closed. I might catch something to write during the course of the day, but I usually write it on something and go back to it either at night or early in the morning when nobody's up.
Right. So how much time do you, so when did you first start getting into being a musician?
I mean, I've always been involved in music in some shape or form, as a teenager, even as a child. But as far as writing the music itself, I didn't start until about maybe 17, 18.
Okay.
Nobody knew about it. I just kept it to just writing songs in a book. And then around 1920, I recorded a few tracks in my house. And then it just took off and went in a separate direction from there. I mean, you talk about 15 years, something like that, maybe more.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. Do you get the opportunity to get out and perform?
Yes.
What's that like? What's the life of a musician like?
I mean, mostly for me, it's more of an outlet than anything else. I mean, I don't do it for the money. I mean, it's nice when you can make some change off of downloads or doing shows, but when I do the shows, it's just a different type of energy. You get to just show everybody what you're capable of doing, or just get on stage and just perform live. It's a different type of feeling.
Right. Is there anybody else in your family that's musically inclined? Did you get to get up on stage with or anything like that?
Not get on stage with them, but I do have family members that are musically inclined, that they've done their own thing, and as far as performances, going across the country, things like that. So, I mean, it runs in the blood, but I kind of just fell into it by accident, basically.
Okay. What do you use for like a lot of your inspiration, or what's the muse?
Life. Everyday life. Again, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I'm a man. I do have to wake up every single day and do everyday things, go to work, pay bills, things like that. So you get to just write it down and just kind of organize your thoughts. And sometimes it comes out of the music, sometimes it just stays on the paper.
Right. Would you look at like when you write down your ideas and you work on the music, would you look at that as like kind of a form of journaling?
Um, that's another way of looking at it. I've never looked at it that way, but that could be another way of journaling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean I think that because you're pulling and actually my question is actually, do you ever like pull over and be like, I got to write this out, man. I got to stop everything I'm doing. This needs to get caught.
I've done it in the past, but I've gotten into the habit of just repeating it in my
Okay.
head until I find a chance to write it down. But
Right.
I have done that before.
Yeah. 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 I know that I'm guilty of like having like what I'll consider like, that's a revelation. I got to get that down. I got to talk about that. Something needs to be said. And like, I guess I got the attention span of a gnat because if I don't stop and write it down, it's gone forever.
Oh,
Right.
of course. No, I know that. I've come up with the most, in my opinion, for my writing, some amazing pieces. And then I forget to repeat it or forget to write it down, and it's gone. Yeah. What did I say again? It's like, oh.
Right. So, the music that you write, what, instruments did you have to teach yourself? What did you have to teach yourself? What have you learned, from the process that, you would like to share that you think you should share?
Um, well, I've always been into playing the piano. I used to play by sound. I've never been good at reading sheet music at all. I never took the time to learn it, and just constantly playing it, constantly practicing. Same thing with the guitar, constantly playing it, constantly practicing. And then you take into equipment now as far as engineering. You got drum machines, you got MPCs, things like that. And I had to learn how to count music versus just going off whatever I was listening to. It's taken time to get there. It's not something I did overnight, but that's the name of the game.
Yeah. Now, how often do you work with somebody else to produce your stuff, or do you put it all together yourself?
Um, Now it's more so me doing more of the work. Back early on in the days, it was working with another artist or another producer to create the music for me as far as the sound, and then I would just write to it. And
Okay.
that's how I did it back then. But now I'm in full control of it, mixing, mastering, the complete engineering. I'm writing the music, I'm producing it, which is it's a time consumer because
Sure.
now you're not spreading it out as far as the work. You're doing it all yourself, so it takes a little bit more time versus having somebody do this, a little bit of that, and it's all you.
Yeah. But that's really awesome because in the end, when you put that out there, you shared a few tracks, and like I said, I listened to them, and I really enjoyed them, man. And I really thought that it was really well put together.
Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. But when you send something out like that, that's got to be an awesome feeling. Being like, I created that, right? Or even knowing that, like, hey, I truly do appreciate what you put out there, and when you hear that back, to me, that's gold, right? That's why you do it, right? You put it out there to like move other people and share kind of your thoughts and your feelings and to create something.
When it comes to the music itself, I've always been real humble about it. I've never been the type of like, well, this is my music, I'm the best at it, or things like that. I've more so just written it, and I've always had this attitude, mentality, whatever fits it. As far as if you like my music, great. If you don't like it, great. It's more so of a therapeutic thing for me.
Right,
And like you said, sometimes you'll hear the tracks and it'll touch a person. Like, okay, I can relate to this,
right.
and things like that. I mean, I'm real low key about it. I don't sit there and kind of like, this is what I do, guys, and I know what I do, and I just do it.
Right, 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 right. It was funny. I was thinking earlier today, like I used to write way long ago,
Okay.
like poetry, right? Like just writing down stuff and like sharing it with people. And
Hmm.
I remember like I would share it with people, and the thought process I had when I wrote it down, and the response somebody else would give me, they would be like, "Man, I didn't even." They would tell me something that wasn't even on my mind.
Yeah.
That I thought that was coming out. What's that? When somebody repeats or hears something that you played and they give you their feedback, how do you take it? Like, what's your response to what they come back with?
For the most part, I think with with writing music, you have to be open to criticism. It's just one of those things where you are going to have a thick skin or you're not. There's going to be people who are going to like your music, and there's going to be people who can't stand it. And you have to understand that. So I've gained that understanding that it's not for everybody.
Right.
And when somebody gives me constructive criticism, whether it be positive or negative, I listen to it. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I move forward with it. Seems odd, but I just kind of like, okay, I like that. That's cool. Well, guess what? I didn't like.
Yeah, so I think that's what I was getting at. It's like,
Yeah,
it's more or less somebody else's interpretation of your art, right?
Yes.
Like, it's still your art, no matter what you do. It's your art, but it's always. I think that it's very interesting, and I also say this too because I remember, and I think it was Mrs. Jones, man, and literally that was her name, Mrs. Jones, and like seventh grade English, man. And I'm still hung up on it years later. But the deal was like, if you read a book, you interpret it a certain way. If you see art, you interpret it a certain way. And a lot of this was like a book that, the author was dead, and you couldn't go to the author and be like, what did you mean when you wrote this? Because, the teachers are all telling you, hey, here's what you're supposed to think when you read. And that used to always really frustrate me because essentially you're being told what they think the artist meant, and what you're saying is that it doesn't really matter what you meant as long as like somebody interacts with it, right? As long as somebody else
No, yeah. As long as somebody, you're always going to have some type of interaction, whether you know it or you don't.
Right.
Sometimes I see the amount of views or the amount of track listeners I get on some of the music, and I'm like, okay. And sometimes I wake up and be like, oh, where did this come from? X amount of people liked it. X amount of people listened to it.
Right.
You get breakdowns as far as percentages, the ratios and everything that goes along with where listened to, who listened to it, the age group, the demographics. So I get a complete breakdown
Right.
As far as who's doing what and how it's being done. So I look at stuff like that. Okay, that's interesting. And, you have X amount of plays in Europe or X amount of plays in Australia or the United States. It's interesting to see where these players are coming from.
Right.
That I will tell you, like, okay, wow, I wasn't expecting somebody in that demographic to actually listen to this and actually like it.
Right. The have you ever put anything out that you think is just straight gold and nobody likes it?
Yes.
Or I guess, adversely, have you ever just been like surprised by like what somebody does like and doesn't like?
This is some tracks. There was a couple of tracks that I've done that caught me off guard. People like, I didn't like it. And it was just me being creative in my own form, my own way of doing it. It wasn't more so like, look what I did, guys. Was I taken back? Yes. Did I let it fester? No. I just still did what I was going to do because that's how I wanted to present it. But I also took a stance where in some of the newer music, I'm listening to it not only as an artist, but as a fan. When you're a fan of music, I've put it together in a sense where how would I want to listen to this music? How would I expect an artist to do something?
Right.
Or lower this down or higher this up, different things like that.
Those are going to be kind of like the the producer in you, right? The mixologist in you, and it's not you still have an appreciation for it, but you're like, if it just would have tweaked here, then that would have been just right.
Oh, it's a process. Trust me, it's a process. I won't even mix down a track or master go on to the next portion of it until I iron out everything that I believe needs to be ironed out of it. I don't me personally, I don't like putting out tracks unless it's completely done.
Right.
100%, no errors. There's always going to be errors, but from my stance, there's no errors from my ear.
Right. For you, so what you're saying, when you release something, it is done.
It's done. There's no going back to it.
What do you think of like the remixes. If I go back, to my period of time, like the white labels or something like that. What do you think?
Mhm.
Like somebody gets a PC. Have you had somebody grab some of your music and remix it, and you hear it back, and you're like, why did they do it? Or you enjoyed what they did and worked on further collaborations?
Yes, I have. I have done that before. There's been a few tracks where I've been surprised. Here you go. Here's a track. I remixed it for you. Oh,
That's
okay.
awesome.
That's nice. That's different. I like it. That I would have never thought of doing something like that.
Right, right. That's cool, man. And like I said, I heard some of your music. Where's most of it being played? Like, where's do when you find like the demographics and when you see that people are enjoying something more than another, does that inspire you to do more in that same vein, or do you just kind of talk a little bit towards that?
Yes and no. I mean, for the most part, it goes back to just doing what I want to do, but I do listen to what I'm seeing as far as these graphs go. It's all now with technology and the social media outlets and stuff. It's all about algorithms. Everything has to do with how you're tagging stuff, where you want to put it, and things like that. It's a science, and
Yeah.
not everybody has it.
We were talking a little bit before this, right? Like, it's not so much like social media is cool enough, and it can be kind of taxing, but it's just like it's a part of the process right now, right?
Yeah.
It's part of you got to be there. You gotta geez, who else? Listen to some freaking I've been listening to a 1910
Okay.
book, a book from 1910 called The Science of Getting Rich for the past like month. And even he's like, you don't go and start like a salmon factory in Florida. There's no salmon there, right?
Yeah.
So you go to where the fish are, man. Where's everybody fishing today? You go, they're online, man. And it's cool, but it's frustrating. You're like, I don't really want to be out there and go do it all the time.
No, of course.
But if I don't, then you're gonna. I mean, listen, if you want to bloom, do it somewhere where people can catch that.
No, of course. I mean, it's tricky. It's not even something you can really get down pat 100%.
Right.
It can be a hit or miss. Some days I don't want to be on social media. Some days I just want to put my phone down and get away from it. I don't care for it.
Right.
Some days you'll get constant posts from me. Silly things. Sometimes I clown around on it. Sometimes I'm serious. Sometimes I'm not.
Right.
But with music, it's just one of those things. You're either gonna like it or you're not.
Right.
That's just how that works.
What would you tell like an aspiring artist, like, I mean, who would you just tell them to get started? What would be like some tips that you would have for somebody getting started right now?
I mean, the only thing, I'm not at a top level to be speaking like that, but I would just tell them, be yourself. Don't let somebody sway you in a direction that either you're not comfortable with.
Yeah. And by the way, you're being completely humble. You're to me, if I hear you and listen to you, you're at a high level. You know what I mean? As far as I'm concerned, like, you're putting out stuff that I can't do, right? By any stretch of the imagination. I can't play the piano. I can't play guitar. I'm lucky if I can get dressed in the morning a lot of times, right? But you're at a level where I believe, there's a lot of people who don't even believe in themselves to put themselves out there in Spotify, who don't believe in themselves to pull over and write the music, who don't believe that that they can. And I'm sure that there might have been a point for you where you were there. What got you past that threshold, and what's kept you going?
For the most part, you get to the point where you just stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. When you worry about yourself, it puts you in a better space in your mind where I'm not worried about what everybody is doing. Yes, you got this person talking about that subject, this subject. That's how they're doing it. What are you doing for yourself, and how you're writing? How do you want to present it? Versus, I've had people give input, and I've either taken it or I've just left it as is.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, it's about how you want to do it. I mean, that's just how it has to be sometimes. Because if you allow other people to really dictate what you're going to do,
right,
it may work for you, it may not. And you're gonna feel it when you know it's uncomfortable. Like, I don't like this. I've had people work with me. Well, you should do a party track. That's not my lifestyle. For me to be talking about partying and doing all this other crazy stuff, that's just not me.
Right.
So I steer away from it. You might hear some lyrical content about it, but it's something what you hear in the clubs or things like that. I just don't. It doesn't fit me, so therefore I stay away from it.
Just
It'd
staying
be
true to
nice.
yourself.
Yeah, staying true to myself. It's just me. I'm not gonna sit here and put up something that I'm not, because for me personally, it just doesn't fit.
That's cool. That's cool. And I can appreciate that, going your own way and sticking to who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. So how you've got your 3 kids. How old are they?
I'm sorry, I had to think about that.
No, man. I get caught in it all the time. I'm like, really? I don't know, man.
8. My 9-year-old is gonna be 10 in a few months. Then I have a 14-year-old, so I have a teenager already.
Oh man, what's
Yes.
that like? Is that? I don't know. I'm scared.
No, I'm scared. I'm definitely petrified. I mean, I'll never show it, but I mean, it's like, oh my gosh, I got a teenager now. I can't believe this.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's impressive. Now, how do they interact with you on the music?
They listen to a lot of the production. Being that I have my studio with me in my house, they get to hear a lot of the stuff that I put out. I'm gonna try to be mindful when they're there as far as like lyrical content goes, but I mean, they know it's no secret that I have a mouth of me.
Right.
With some of the stuff I say, but as far as the music goes, they hear me messing with the guitars, with the pianos, things like that, making the music. They get to hear it first.
Cool.
Other than me while I'm creating it, they're the first ear. So I watch what they're doing and how they react to it. Because you're going against a different generation of music anyway.
Absolutely.
So I kind of watch their body language and how they're interacting with it, and that kind of tells me, okay, this is working for what I'm trying to do right now.
Right. That's cool. Do they have an interest in it? Do they pick up the guitar? Do they hit the piano? Do they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
All 3 of them in some shape or form. They'll sit there. I mean, I allow them to mess with the equipment. It doesn't bother me as long as you ask me. Just don't go down there and start messing with stuff. But other than that, they play the piano. They'll mess with the guitars. I have no problems with that whatsoever.
Have they collaborated with you at any point? Have you done songs with them?
No, I haven't. I wrote a song for them, and I shot the video for it. So they were in the video. You just didn't see their face. I'm one for privacy. I'm very private.
Absolutely.
With the way things are going now, I just don't feel like my kids should be out there like that. I'm the one who's doing music. They didn't ask for this.
Right.
So I give them their privacy, and it's also a sense of security. And that's just how I roll with it. They got to do the music videos with me, and it was fun.
Right.
It was the most hilarious thing I've ever done. I even got to perform the song once while they were there, and I kid you not, I almost laughed during my set because I saw them from the corner of my eye, and I thought about the music video.
Right. How about do they get involved with they give you some immediate feedback when they're in the room? Have they ever helped you reset the levels, offered input on track adjustments or anything like that?
Not that technical, but they have had their input as far as either the pace of the track, however I set it up, if it's catchy, if it's not, things like that.
They'll let you know.
Yeah, they're my kids. They will let you know.
That's great. So your full-time job right now is you're driving, right?
Yes, I drive a truck.
Right. So trying to and you I think you do pretty early hours, right?
I'm up at 3:30 in the morning.
Man, that's something. And so you're up early, you're out, you're working long hours, you're producing awesome music, and you're parenting, and you're going back to school right now.
Yeah.
You got a lot on your plate. How are you keeping it all together?
Um, Understanding that when you want something, there's going to be some discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
some discomfort to a lot of discomfort. Um, you just have to figure out and understand how to balance it out. And do I balance it every day? No. I'm a human being. I make mistakes.
Right, right.
Things are going to fall out of place sometimes to ever so often, but you just have to find what works for you. Am I perfect with it? No. Doesn't always go the way I planned it, but you just got to roll with what's coming.
Right. And your wife is fairly supportive?
Yes. No, she is. No,
Yeah.
she is.
Yeah.
She definitely is. I know when I have to record, she'll take the kids out and I'll just give her a window. She'll keep them out of the house for that window. And I'll make sure that I get as much done within that window, because when that window's closed, it's closed.
Right, right. Well, and it's cool that you honor that too, right? That you
Yeah.
honor the fact that you appreciate her saying, "Hey, I'm going to give you this window, but when the window's closed, you're back." You're like, you're not like, "I'm another half hour. You're gonna have to go."
Yeah,
back.
no, of course. No.
Yeah.
No,
And
I
that's
don't think
important.
I've
Like
done
that. So
that.
that, I mean, that's very important. To for the relationship to honor that and to respect that. And it sounds like it's going both ways. And it's really cool that she's also um, allowing that, right? And because she doesn't have to.
No, she doesn't. She's like,
She
no,
doesn't
I don't
have
like
to.
it. No, that means some people allow it, some people don't. I mean, I don't think it's more so of an allowance, but I would say like an understanding.
Right.
As long as everything else is getting done. I mean, if everything else is falling apart, then no. Obviously, it's going to be a no-go. It's
Right.
understanding. Everything is falling apart. Why are you doing this now?
Right.
And I've stepped over that boundary,
Sure.
and then I've understood the reaction to it. Yeah, you had that coming, dude.
No, I was talking about that yesterday. As a matter of fact, as we ran out for our date night, it was long overdue, and I was like, "It was in the air. It's there." You're like, "Well, I'm just gonna see if I can push it out just a little bit further."
Yeah.
I know you can't, but you're just gonna sometimes you just do it, and that's human nature, right? So very cool. So let's flip it over. Let's dig into a little bit more about like fatherhood, right?
Okay.
What would you say is the purpose of fatherhood?
One, I look at fatherhood as not so much a gift, but like your duty. It's a privilege more than anything else. Not everybody has the chance to be a father. Um, you don't just wake up, you're a father, you're a father, you're a father. They don't just hand them out like that. So when you're given the opportunity to do it, you have to take it as seriously as possible. I mean, it's there for it. I mean, I'm a father now. I'm not 16. I'm not a teenager. I'm in my 20s. Things like that. So I take it more so as an honor, as a privilege to be a father, because not everybody gets that chance.
Right. All right. That's awesome. What was your relationship with like your father?
I actually didn't grow up with my father.
Okay.
Um, it was a different type of relationship, but now as an adult we talk. Now as an adult I see him when I go down to Georgia.
Okay.
He gets to see the kids, things like that. But from my perspective, it's a different view. So I've looked at it as no two eyes see the same thing.
Sure.
I couldn't understand what was going on. Why? Because I didn't have that life weight on me yet. Just a kid. You're not looking at it like, okay, well, this is going on. I don't like it. Guess what? You're a child. You don't understand it. As an adult, I can understand it now versus back then.
Right. Right. Do you feel like you take on the honor of being a father and the duty of being a father more so because of your father not being there then?
In the beginning, yes, until one day I woke up and said, all right, why are you trying to be something that you didn't have? Stop trying to be what you didn't have and be what you want to be as a father. How do you want your kids to look at you as versus what you didn't have?
Yeah, no, that's powerful.
If that makes any sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense because I'll be one of the first to say that one of the things that I think about in parenting and parenting my children is like trying to give them everything that I did, not necessarily give them everything I didn't have, is trying to be that person I would have wanted in my life.
Yeah.
right? As a parent, and it's kind of an interesting twist there, right? You know, instead of doing that, like maybe just be whoever it is they need today, right? Versus some shadow that is missing in my life. Kind
No,
of
of
like it.
course.
I like it. I like that. What is like? Do you have any parenting hacks? Is there something you wish you would have known earlier in parenting that you know now?
I think one of the biggest things early on is the lack of understanding. No child is born when they come out. Here comes the baby. There's no blueprint that comes after them. It's just the baby.
Yeah,
You're on your own.
you're like, where are the
Um,
instructions?
yeah. I think more so now is just trying to get the understanding as far as um, how to go about it versus just diving into it. Am I
Okay,
perfect with it? No.
right.
Uh, I'm a human being. Not to say that it's an excuse for anything, but also I'm older now, not in my 20s. I'm in my
Right.
30s. I'm getting ready to knock down 40 in a few years. So for me, it's just a different mindset.
Sure. Sure. Um, what's it like? So my kids are still younger, right? I've
Yeah.
got a 6 and an 8-year-old. See, I have to think about it too, man. And they're still young. Don't worry about it. I still have to think about it every time I bring it up. I'm like, how old are
I
they?
think every parent does it.
It's like time is not passing, but it really is. So mine are 6 and 8 right now, and one of the things that I recognize is like from my first one are the age transitions, like from
Yeah.
So I'm good right now. I feel with knowing that at least I've got the headliner right. He's 8, going on
Okay.
9, and now I've got the one following him. So what's it like? What are the transitions after like 8, right? So where do we start seeing the changes at? Because you've got 8, 9, and 14, right? So going up
Um,
on 10.
I look at it, for one, you're dealing with three different personalities.
Yeah,
Each child is going to do things a different way. They're going to react to things a different way. What worked for one may not work for the other. So you have to kind
yeah.
of go back to the drawing board in your own private time. What,
You're like,
why is it?
this totally worked
Yeah,
on your brother, but why isn't it working on you?
exactly. I see a lot of myself and my kids
Hmm.
at different age groups.
Hmm.
Um, from how I viewed it. I mean, there's always different stories to how I was and what I did and didn't do, but there was also my view of it, not just everybody else's.
Hmm.
Like I said, no two eyes see the same thing. So um, I see a little bit of myself in each one of them at different aspects of my life. Now it's more so trying to understand how to integrate that and be there for them and with them to help them move through that experience, because we're also dealing with a different time period where in the 80s and 90s things were a little bit different as far as what they are now. Now there's a little bit more, you have to almost watch what you're saying to not just your kids, but generally you just have to watch what you're saying, because it can be taken out of context, and then what happens, it gets posted on the internet.
It will get taken out of context. There's no
Yeah,
if. It will get taken out of context. 80s and 90s, man. It's a whole different world. It
it
is a
was
whole different world. There was no cell phones. There were no
no.
computers. There was no instantaneous anything. It was really
I look,
hard to get instant anything.
oh yeah,
You
I think
know?
now we back then when we were growing up, you had to search for information. You had to, things weren't just thrown out there, and if it was in front of your face, chances are we probably didn't get it. Now,
Right.
now that you have everything thrown at you, they can't process it the way we did. We had time to understand it. Now it's just here it is, there it is. It's like what's going on? Where's all this coming from?
Right. Right. I was thinking about it too. I still remember, it sounds like you didn't get into like the party scene, but I ended up going to the party scene. I still remember going like, my first event was like, we had to pull up to a Dunkin' Donuts and get like a map from somebody, man, to
Yeah,
like the next place. And that was cool. These kids aren't going to get to experience that level of like, what is their, what geocaching? I don't know. But, it's a totally different world, than where we were. And it's neat. But, And that was the other thing I was thinking earlier today. Do you hear your kids talking and like a little bit ago, like I think it would have been cool to be younger and regrow again, but I just heard my kids talking earlier today and I was like, I don't miss being 5, 6. I don't miss that.
I hear them talking, and I joke with them, and I'll make fun of the jokes and make fun of whatever they're saying, and they'll do the same to me. I think it's just hilarious. I pay attention to what they're saying. I'm like, what? Okay, where'd you learn that from?
Right. What's an example?
A lot of the lingo that's changing out. As far as there's so many of them, I can't even pinpoint. It's all over the place.
Right.
For instance, the dancing.
Uh-huh.
The dances. The other day, my oldest had us trying out the little silly dances that they were doing. Right. And I couldn't do it for the life of me. I'm like, it looks like you're having a seizure or something. Like, I'm like, I can't keep up with what you're doing.
Right. That's for you.
She's dying laughing, and I'm having a blast trying the silly dance because it looks silly, but it was funny interacting on that level where they can see you try something that they're doing, even though you don't care for it much.
Right.
But I think that was a different experience watching me do those silly dances.
Well, yeah, I think that those are going to be the moments that they remember too, right? Yeah. Where you get involved with them and you do try the things that they're sharing with you because that's important to them.
Yeah, of course.
Very cool. Books you got behind you. Are you a big reader?
Yes, I am. That doesn't even scratch the surface. I donated a bunch of books years ago. I had stacks of books, and I donated it to the library.
What space are you in the personal development space? What's your reading preference? What do you like to read?
A lot of military books, a lot of martial arts, ethics, personal building, autobiographies. I'm no stranger to any type of genre. I don't kind of like discriminate against it. I pick whatever. If it catches my eye, I'm gonna read it.
Right on.
I like information. I love it.
Sure. No, that's great. What's like one book that you can think of that has impacted your parenting the most?
I wouldn't say it had to do with parenting, but one book that I was reading was the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Okay.
For me, I took it as you see what a person went through, the changes, and even though it was, his life was cut short, within that time period, you get to see the different stages he went through to get to where he was at.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think that for me personally, not only as a parent but as a man, you're gonna go through some stuff, and sometimes you get to reflect on that stuff,
right? And
you take from it, and you're either gonna move forward with it, or you're gonna leave it where it's at and keep on growing.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great. What's a book that you recommend the most outside of that one?
48 Laws of Power. That's one of those books you have to read.
What is it?
48 Laws of Power.
48 Laws of Power. All right.
And The Art of War. Those are two very good books that I've read. It's not something you speed through, it's something you read to understand it.
Okay. What's in the I've read The Art of War and I enjoy it. I really do. I enjoy that one a lot. What's the 48 Laws of Power about?
48 Laws of Power basically is just in short term more of steps to take to, it's almost like, in my perspective, a way of bettering yourself on interacting with other people.
Okay.
Your environment. I mean, it can be put into any area of your life, and you can just kind of learn from it and just practice it, knowingly and unknowingly.
Okay.
I guess it all depends on how the reader takes it. For me personally, it was just taking different things and moving stuff around in my personal life and who I was, and just trying to rearrange it or kind of not conform, but exercise some of the stuff that I was reading. Some of it's works, surprisingly. Okay.
Like what?
Temperament. I try not to. I have a straight face, so for the most part, people are going to take it as
this whole thing's been like poker face.
That's just my character. That's who I am.
Right.
Some people take it, oh, you're angry or you're upset. I'm not upset.
Right.
just don't have that face. You see me smiling in certain photos and stuff, but my smiles are calculated for me. So for me, you just have to learn how to work with it.
Right. Gotcha.
And I don't let a lot of it bother me. Sometimes it has, and sometimes I'm just like, whatever, that's just my face. I can't explain my face.
Right. Yes. Yeah, man. What is like let's say, what is something you'd like to thank your kids for in 10 years? 10 years goes by. What would you like to thank them for?
Wow, never really put any thought into that one. There's so much. Goes back to having the privilege of being a father. Those are my children. They're surrounded by me. I'm surrounded by them. Creating great moments, such as road trips, such as little things that we do, the little jokes that we make. Those are our experiences. That's something you can't make up. That's something you can't fake. I'm like thankful for those experiences, because those experiences are what moved me in a direction versus where I was going before they came into the picture.
Okay. Nice. I think as parents and fathers, especially, we want to be the role model for our children.
Of course.
How often have you had to course correct based off of like what you thought you were teaching your children and what they were picking up?
I've done it more times than I can remember.
Yeah.
The approach on how to interact when somebody does something, or like I said, I grew up in a different time, so how I would have dealt with it is definitely frowned upon now. It's just not happening. But
how would you have dealt with it in the past, and how are they dealing with it now?
A lot of the stuff that I hear these kids say now, you more than likely would have been fighting. Fighting is not. I don't see that happening now, because the consequences are a lot more harsh than they were when I was there, when I was their age and stuff. You fought, you got it done, it was over with. Now I think, again, with social media, it just puts a damper of it. Everybody's filming their fights and posting it up, so it's not something you can forget,
right?
Mentally or visually.
Right.
I try to teach them on character. Be who you want to be for yourself, but understand that people will judge you. We live in a judgmental world.
Right.
I have a buddy of mine that I graduated high school with, and this is back when I was like 16, 17 that we knew each other. And even now as a parent, I'm married with kids. I've grown up. It doesn't matter what I've done. His father's always going to look at me as the hoodlum. Doesn't matter what I've done, getting out of that phase, whatever I was doing, but whatever I was doing back then, that's the image he has of me when he sees my face. Oh, this is the hoodlum. Right. It's nothing offensive about it. It's just the understanding now. Okay, well, I see where he's coming from. This is the image I gave him, and this is what he sees of me. No matter what I'm doing, he's glad that I've grown up, but also that's the image he first got of me, a hoodlum. Somebody's acting up, acting wild, doesn't know how to control themselves, things like that. So that's what I try to push on my kids. Like, just take a second to think about this before you start doing stuff. I mean, you're a kid. You're going to mess up. We all did.
Right. Look, as adults, we still mess up.
Oh, of course. Every day.
Right. I haven't got it nailed down yet. That's for sure. I know that. What is something that you want to cover that we haven't covered as far as it relates to parenthood?
I don't know. I mean, I haven't really put any thoughts into it. I mean, I would just wait for the questions and answer them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, anything that we talked about, hacks and stuff like that, or like, stuff that you wish you would have known earlier. Is there anything that like you would tell a parent? Any advice? Any parting advice?
It's a forever thing. It's a time thing. You're not gonna get it right in the beginning. You may never get it right. You just have to, like I said earlier in our conversation, where don't be or try to be what your parents weren't, and just try to be yourself.
Yeah.
Be who you want your kids to perceive you as.
Yeah.
And I like I said, I don't always get it right. I'm pretty sure I mess up a lot. Like I could have done it a different way. And I do think about the stuff afterwards. Sometimes when things go in a different direction, but be yourself. Don't be what you feel you didn't have or did have, or I liked it this way when my parents did this and I didn't like that. Stop it, because it's only gonna frustrate you when you do come across. And trust me, I do, in some sense, act like my parents.
Right.
It's natural. You've been around the parents forever.
Right.
You're gonna pick up some stuff from your childhood. But be yourself. Don't worry about, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be like my mother. I'm gonna be like my father. Don't worry about that.
Right.
Don't give it any thought, because you're only gonna make things a lot harder than it already is. Because parenting is not easy. It's not an easy task.
It's serious business.
No, it is.
It is serious business. It is serious business. Awesome, man. Andrew, I want to say thanks again for stopping on today. Where should we connect on Instagram? Where should people go to find out more about you? Where should they go if they are interested in hearing some of your music? And where should the sponsors find you?
I mean, for the most part, you find me a lot on Instagram. That's basically the main hub that I use when it comes to the music stuff. And through there, you'll get different links and different photos or different bios and things like that. So for the most part, I would say Instagram, Solo8201. And
Solo8201.
Yep, and that'll just open up the door to everything else that I post up, because that's where I post up everything as far as Spotify, iTunes, things like that. It branches out. That's the main route.
Okay. Head over to Instagram, Solo8201.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome, man. Love it. Thanks for being on today, and look forward to.
Having me.
Absolutely, man.